Hey, what's going on everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Raid Shadow Legends, and today we have the fusion start of Mavara Mavara the Web Diviner, that's it. The new support champion for the Dark Elves that we're going to be working on towards the new hybrid fusion event. Good thing is that she's actually a pretty solid character. I'm kind of disappointed, and I didn't really talk about it on my channel, but I'm a little bit disappointed that we've had like two Dark Elf fusions within like 3 months, right? We had that little break and then we had Noldua, so it's just kind of weird to me. But she's actually I pretty good. She's more of a pure support character, and of course, you will get the fusion token by completing this. So really, there is no skipping of fusion events that much anymore, anyways. If you want to get your fusion character, and unless you really want to change her out for, I'm going to try not to do this by accident, of course. But you know, you can. We talked about like the only one fusion token that would even be worth it, and I'm not sure if it's better than her, would be Bambus, right? And Harvest Jack would probably be the only other character on this list. I think that would even be worth doing. But I'm going to be doing this. We're going to talk about everything that we need to do in order to be successful in this fusion event. We got the calendar as well. Now, before we get started, I do want to remind people that if you haven't started playing Raid yet, what are you waiting for? Download using the QR code in the top right hand of the screen to get Tholan Foulbeard. We also have Stag Knight, Rector Drath, and Farrakhan the Fat at accounts level 10, 20, and 30. Don't forget that you can also get your hands on this Void Legendary Champion by the name of Tahanarak, and all you got to do is use the promo code Desert Queen in the first 48 hours of a brand new account. Okay, so let's get started here with the fusion event calendar. So we're starting here on a Wednesday, and we're gonna have Fire Night tournament, which is gonna be, maybe by the time you're watching this, it's already started. We also have the Gear Hunters event #1, which is nice because usually there's a lag between the Gear Hunters event and the actual dungeon tournaments. But we have both starting on the same day, but not at the same time, so be careful. As of recording, anyways, there is a small gap. I have to wait another 55 minutes for Fire Night, and Gear Hunters is starting in 10 minutes. So there's a 45-minute gap, but, you know, hey, if you're watching this later, then you're probably already started, so it doesn't really matter there. And we do also, let's see, what else? Between this Gear Hunters, there is going to be a champion training event, which is going to be starting tomorrow. Tournament, sorry. Starting tomorrow. So you can do a little bit of double dipping with the Gear Hunters there. If you're doing some campaign farming, for example, then you can do that. But Ice Golem, I don't think that there's going to be any wiggle room here between Gear Hunters and Ice Golem. I would be careful about that. It doesn't look like there is, so it's probably going to start after Gear Hunters 1 ends. So there is no Gear Hunters 2 until towards the end, which means that Ice Golem is not going to double dip for anything here, but at least Fire Knight today will. Now, there is going to be a Summon Rush starting on Friday. Thank God for that, because we have not had a Summon Rush in a hot minute. We've had a lot of path events that have been rewarding fusion stuff, and what I really love about Summon Rushes is how you can take advantage of them to get additional fragments. Normally, I would say that, right? But that appears not to be the case this time. They're really messing about. You might have noticed, actually, up here, that the additional fragments is coming from the Champion Chase tournament. Normally, that there is... wait, unless it's... There's 50 in the Champion Training Tournament. Yeah, but the bonus is coming from Champion Chase, not Summon Rush. Normally, in a hybrid event, there's either an additional 50 fragments from a second Summon Rush, or there's just another... You know, normally it's in one of these events. So this one's a particular weird one because we are going to need to... I think the Champion Chase turn, those 50 fragments, I think is going to be from the leaderboard, right? That's normally how they work. That I think the top 3 get additional fragments. So there actually is nothing that you can skip this time around if you want to complete this, which is absolutely crazy and kind of shit, actually. Because usually, like I said, that you can get 75 fragments from the Summon Rush, either over 1 or 2 different Summon Rushes. So, yeah, it's really unfortunate that we're going to have to do everything if you want to get Mavara. And she's a pretty decent champion, right? So we have all the usual events. There's nothing surprising here, although the Champion Training Tournament is going to have additional fragments than the Champion Training Event, which is going to happen next week. So there's going to be 50 in tomorrow's and 25 next week. Otherwise, we're doing the same song and dance. Gear Hunters 1 and 2, Classic Arena 1 and 2, Gear Enhancement 1, 2, 3. So there's going to be 3 of that. Make sure that you have enough silver to cover for that as well. So you're going to need approximately I like to say on average about 20 million silver per gear enhancement event. That covers you when you're upgrading to level 16 on your artifacts, not accessories. Accessories do end up costing you more, so do keep that in mind as well. But we're going to need to have a decent amount of shards, of course, as always, to complete a fusion. Now, because the summon rush, though, does only give 25 fragments, I'm expecting it to be a low amount of points to get. Usually that would be somewhere in the, I want to say 4 or 5 sacred shard range, which means that the total points would be somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500 for just the 25 fragments. So I'm probably just going to do it with green shards, right? I've talked about green shards in other videos and how this can really help you clear points in Summon Rush, and usually that is the best place to do it, not Champion Chase tournaments, because that's a one-to-one points as well. I mean, I guess you could use it for Champion Chase as well. However, we're still going to have to clear that too, right? So we're getting 25 fragments from Champion Chase, as you can see here, but those bonus fragments is no longer something that you can rely on. So it's really important that we understand that this one is quite different from previous fusions where you can take advantage of bonus points. I don't think these bonus points are realistic, right? Unless they're maybe not in the leaderboard reward, but I think that's where they probably will be, right? We'll find out if I'm wrong. But otherwise, you want to make sure that you're going to keep, I would say, on the level. If you want to clear Summon Rush and Champion Chase, you're probably looking at a total of like 10 Sacred Shards-ish worth of points. Of course, for Champion Chase, though, that you can also use anything like Fragment Summons, if you have any of these saved, if you have any Remnant Summons from your Grim Forest or your Cursed City, or anything that you might be keeping in your Fusion Portal still, or if you're able to clear any Broadmaws. As you guys know, I used like 4 Broadmaws for my stupid 5 Red Soul Bayek that I ended up doing this weekend. So things are not looking too well there, and I have like no Void Shards. So the Champion Chase fragments might be a little bit difficult for me, but I will be leveraging these green mystery shards as much as possible. Other than that, right, make sure that you have a good, and I guess it's too late now because it kind of started, but make sure that you have a good amount of gems for fusion events for energy, right? You're converting your gems into your energy. That's what most of us do when it comes to dungeon events, when it comes to gear hunters, this kind of thing, right? And of course, the silver is very important as well. So overall, she is worth doing, obviously, because she is a really good champion, right? She also looks really badass. But as far as supports go, she does have a 28% arena battle. I don't feel like she's an arena-based character, though. But she has a single ally revive. It's not as good as Noldua's AoE, but she does have a very strong Perfect Veil AoE buff. This is very, very good for things like Hydra, and you don't need to revive someone to place this. With books, it's on a cooldown of 3. This is very strong for Hydra, which requires Perfect Veil. Well, not requires, but like it's very helpful to have Perfect Veil to avoid the true fear on the Hydra head. So very solid there as well, and unkillable on herself. So it's going to make her very good in there. Every 8 buffs the enemy team receives, increase the turn meter of all allies by 20%. That makes it sound like it's arena-based, and maybe it kind of is in some weird way. But this can happen in Hydra, actually, as well, with buffs, things like that. For every 16 buffs this champion and their allies receive, heal all for 20% of their max HP. So that's kind of neat, right? When your team buffs more, it also will heal them. A strengthen and increased resist buff. This is very rare. AoE 50% increased resist buff on allies is very rare. Combined with Perfect Veil, it's not the same as Feral the Barkhorn's buff, but they have both Perfect Veil and increased resistance. This is a very solid champion for Hydra. So I think that anyone who's looking to progress there is going to be pretty happy, I would think, with Mavara. And also this Fervor buff for 2 turns on a random ally. And if you happen to have any buff extender characters, right, once this starts getting on to your different champions, this is going to be really nice because Fervor decreases the damage you take by 10%, but also increases the damage you deal by 10% as well. And the passive effect, allies under Fervor buff have a 50% chance of joining the attacks of other allies under Fervor. So if we keep this going with buff extension, and you get it on all of your champions, or if you have ally attack champions, right, that brings Mavara in to put more Fervor out on your team, this is going to be really, really crazy. So I am looking forward to getting her. Sadly, I don't have the test server. I'm not one of those creators, but I think she is going to be a good addition to a lot of people's rosters. So despite the Fusion event calendar looking really terrible, because there's not many ways that you can skip events this time around, it is still something that I would personally strive to push for. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below about Mavara and her event. I don't quite like the schedule, but it is what it is, right? So before we get going, I do want to remind people that if you haven't started playing Raid yet, what are you waiting for? Download using that QR code in the top right hand of the screen to get Tholan, Falbeard, Stagnite, Rector Drath, and Farrakhan the Fat. Hey, speaking of ally attack champions, Farrakhan's amazing, by the way, for that. And also, don't forget, you can get yourself the Void Legendary Support Champion to Hanorach by using the promo code Desert Queen in the first 48 hours of a brand new account. That's it for me, everyone. Have a great day, and I'll see you all on the next one. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and you'll be greatly helping out the channel. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.